Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be all about fragrance and my absolute favorite perfumes. Winter, summer, daytime, evening. I'm going to be talking about my top 10 loves of my life when it comes to scent. I know I don't do a lot of fragrance videos on my channel, but that's because they tank every time. I've had very few fragrance perfume videos that have done very well on my channel, but I just love talking about fragrance, sharing my fragrances with you because it's such a passion of mine, and I love my fragrance and just learning about notes and performance and trying new scents. So I do try to share with you some fragrance videos, but they just don't do that well. So I can't do it that often, I'm afraid, because I don't want my whole channel to die and everyone to leave me. But today I thought we'd indulge ourselves, those of us, and certainly me, who love to talk perfumes and just love finding new notes and new fragrances to try. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So these are not going to be in any particular order, but I will kind of point out the ones that are like right at the top of this top 10. I found this top 10 really easy actually, because these kind of stand out for me in my collection. I didn't really struggle to pick 10. It was like, these are the 10, and they are pretty solid. There were really no other contenders that I kind of had to fight myself. Which one of these? This is the 10. Okay, this is it. So let's start off with Kilian's Angel's Share. I know a lot of you guys picked this up after I spoke about it in my video when I first purchased this, and a lot of you guys bought this on my recommendation and love it as much as I do. This is described as an amber vanilla, but ultimately it is a warm, boozy fragrance. So boozy, as you can see in that gorgeous cognac styled bottle. I love this. It's such a unique bottle, and I think it's so beautiful, so gorgeous. The scent itself is heaven. If you like boozy scents, a bit sweet but mostly just boozy to the hilt, you've got to try Angel's Share. This is unisex. Most of the fragrances, I think maybe even all of the fragrances I'm going to talk about today, are unisex. That's kind of my jam. I love a unisex fragrance. Anything that's defined as a female fragrance. I'm not a big fan of labeling fragrances as what we should smell like. A female should smell like this and a male should smell like this. I don't buy into that. I like what I like, but typically the fragrances that I like are always labeled as unisex, because I don't like a typical floral, very sweet or very sweet gourmand, things like very flowery fragrant perfumes, or that baby powder style of perfume. Boozy, tobacco-y, rich scents that are almost always labeled as male or unisex. That's my cup of tea. This can be enjoyed by anybody who loves a creamy, boozy vanilla. That is what this is. It's a pretty linear scent. I feel like it keeps the boozy nature all the way through. It's got some sweetness, but it's not sickly sweet. It's definitely for me like a autumn winter fragrance, evening fragrance. I wouldn't really wear this in the summer, but in the winter, on a warm, cozy evening, I want to smell like I'm sitting in a warm, cozy living room under a blanket with a glass of cognac and maybe eating a cinnamon bun. That's what this smells like. The performance of this is excellent. It is very long wearing. You will definitely give people a waft of you all day and all night. It is long wearing and the sillage is moderate. I wouldn't say it's not overwhelming. It's not super powerful. You're not going to fill a room, but people are going to get a whiff of you as you walk past, a waft of you if you're having dinner. They're going to ask you what you're wearing. This is one that gets a lot of compliments for me. Next up, let's talk about my first Initio fragrance. Won't be the last we're going to talk about today. This is Rehab. This is one of my newer fragrances to my collection. I had a sample of this and I had to have the full bottle. It's just so unique. It's got some sweetness, some lightness, but so musky, woodsy. This is a woodsy, musky scent. Very unique. This is definitely not a blind buy purchase. It's not a safe blind buy whatsoever. You need to smell this before you go out and purchase this, because it is unique. It's very hard to describe, and it's very hard. I find it, I'm not an expert by any means, but I know what I like, and I find it hard to like pick out any notes in here. I mean, typical of Initio's fragrances, they are so well blended that I could smell this and I could tell you it's woodsy. I could tell you that it's musky. That's about it. I could never pick out individual notes from this scent. It's just so smooth, hint of like some spiciness in there, a hint of sweetness, but so light. And it's got this sort of fresh, airy quality to it. Perfect office scent for me. Perfect all year round, daytime, evening, because it's just so inoffensive on the nose. It's so soft. You can smell it. It's very long wearing. It hasn't got an overbearing sillage, but again, you will smell it on yourself all day long. Very like close quarters, warm weather friendly, because it is so soft. It's not harsh on the nose. It's smooth, soft, creamy, and light, and it's just not going to like overpower anybody. Like perfect office scent. This is like, I'm in heaven. Today's video is just heaven for me. So from one extreme to another, this is Mancera's Red Tobacco, and this is potent. This is probably the strongest, most overpowering scent I have, not just here on the table, but in my collection in general. This is an absolute bomb of a fragrance. So strong, so powerful, a powerhouse performance-wise, eternally long-lasting, massive sillage, definitely not office friendly. Now, this is definitely like a classic warm, spicy tobacco. As the name would suggest, this is tobacco. If you love tobacco fragrances and you love a strong fragrance, you've got to try Red Tobacco. It is like the tobacco to end all tobaccos. When you first spray this, it's powerful, okay? It's going to burn the nostrils. It is strong. But the dry down of this is gorgeous. It's not one of these tobaccos that, you know, you get a waft of tobacco in the opening and then it just dries down to a vanilla. This is going to smell clearly tobacco, warm, spicy all day and the next day and through a shower. It has a lot of notes in here, but to me, it's just a strong, powerful, woodsy tobacco. That's what it kind of smells like to me. It definitely goes on a bit of a journey. Both of the fragrances I've mentioned so far are quite linear. They kind of smell how they smell like pretty much throughout the journey of the fragrance. Mancera's Red Tobacco starts off with that huge kick, that huge bomb of like spice and incense and oud at the beginning that really knocks you off your feet, and then it calms down over the next couple of hours. Some sweetness just kind of pokes its nose into the scent and just calms everything down, takes the edge off and smooths everything out. And then the tobacco with the amber and the vanilla in the base, just like I said, it smooths everything. It makes everything that hint creamier, that hint of sweet. This isn't in no way a sweet fragrance. There's just a hint of sweetness from the vanilla and the amber in the base that takes the edge off, and the dry down is just heavenly. It's one that you're going to keep coming back to and just smelling throughout the day. It's so comforting. 100% you have to like a strong, potent tobacco scent to wear this as a woman. Men will wear this and it will still even then be quite strong and powerful of a fragrance. Not a typical feminine fragrance whatsoever. The most masculine fragrance I would say that I own. Use with caution. 100% also an evening and winter fragrance. Definitely not a summer daytime fragrance for anyone, I don't think. Next up, let's talk about Baccarat Rouge 540, Maison Francis Kurdjian's most famous fragrance that I have in my collection. A very, very popular, well-known fragrance. This kickstarted my love of saffron. Once I got my nose to this scent and started to understand it, I was like, okay, it's the saffron in here that just does it for me, that tickles my pickle, that floats my boat. And I started really looking for saffron in my fragrances, and therefore picked up a few others that are in this collection, because I really found from loving my love of this fragrance that saffron does it for me. It's one of my favorite notes. This is such a beautiful, fresh, again, it's got that kind of fresh quality in the same way that Rehab has, that it's almost something about it that smells of fresh air. It's just so light, fresh, and interesting on the nose. Again, it's quite different for me. There is another scent in here that smells quite like this to me, but it's that saffron note. This definitely has that, some people describe it as like a hospital smell to it. And I understand what they mean. It's the saffron coming through and it's quite unusual. And people will either love it or hate it. I absolutely love it. It's got the sweetness that I like, but not in a sickly, gourmand, caramelly type way. It's that resiny sweetness that just takes the edge off and gives you a hint of something without it being like sickly sugary sweet. It's not in that ballpark whatsoever. It's just that resin that it just smells just so warm on the base. Definitely like a lighter woodsy scent, and again with that saffron it just makes it so interesting to me. It's probably the biggest compliment bomb, I think, maybe bar one other, that I have in this whole collection. Everybody is going to smell this. This performs incredibly. It's the sillage. It's long wearing. It has great longevity, like a day and a half, and it'll be on your clothes forever and it'll wear through a shower. But the sillage on this, it will fill a room, okay? This is the one where when I wear this, everybody is saying, oh, whose perfume is that? Oh, what is that smell? Everybody loves it. Everybody wants to know what you're wearing. Everyone's going to smell you. But it's light enough to wear spring, summer, autumn, winter, whenever you like. Very versatile for me. I'd wear this for any occasion. This would probably be potentially my wedding fragrance. If I was to get married this year, these days, this would probably be what I would wear on my wedding because it just smells, it's very bridal to me. Very beautiful, very light and fresh, but rich and deep at the same time, and just different enough that it's interesting and you want to keep smelling it, but without anything strange or too strong or overpowering or super pungent. It's just, oh, beautiful. Next, let's talk about Xerjoff Italica. I think, was this my first Xerjoff fragrance? I think it was. And it got me hooked on the brand. Oh my goodness. The combination of the notes in here and just the blend of it is just something else. As I said, I'm not a gourmand lover. I'm not a big fan of a gourmand fragrance. I feel like I went through a gourmand fragrance in my 20s and I've definitely kind of moved on, and I don't really tend to lean towards sweet and edible kind of foodie notes or fragrances anymore. But this is the overwhelming exception. And the reason it's the exception is that this is like no other gourmand that you will ever smell. This is widely talked about as being like the ultimate gourmand, the world's best gourmand there's ever been. Lots of people feel that way about Italica, and I agree. It's absolutely 100% my favorite ever gourmand. Then the fact that it's in my top 10 and it sits in that category says it all, really. Yes, it is sweet, but it's in this sort of light spicy way, and oh, the saffron, again, that saffron in here just immediately just suckers me in. It's like one of my favorite, if not maybe my favorite notes to have in a fragrance. So the kind of gourmand notes in here, the toffee, the bourbon vanilla, are just so balanced with the woodsy notes that you just can't quite, again, pull them out. You can get that hint of saffron and that lactonic quality that it has from the milk note, and it's just incredibly balanced. So unusual, so beautiful, so sophisticated in a very sexy way. One of the most beautiful bottles I've ever seen in all of my life, and just a joy. A crowd pleaser. Again, it's got a great longevity, and the sillage I'd say was like a moderate sillage. Again, you know, people are going to get a waft, the odd sort of, you know, oh, what's that glorious smell on the wind kind of experience, but not overbearing on anyone. I'd say this is, again, probably more so of a winter fragrance, but not so overpowering that you couldn't wear it in summer. But for me, it's just so warming and toasty and comforting and delicious in winter. That's when it shines. Next, let's talk about my second Initio fragrance in the video, still not the last, but this is Side Effect. And this was my first, yes, just checking, Initio fragrance that I ever owned, and for sure made me need more because the quality of the fragrance is so obvious in here. I think this is one of my very first niche fragrances, and it started me on quite the journey. The smell of this fragrance. This is still got to be, as far as just the scent itself, top 3 for me. Oh my goodness, the quality of it just speaks for itself. You can smell immediately the difference between this and perfumes of like a lesser quality and blend. It's the smoothest fragrance I could tell you I've ever smelled. 4 notes in here: rum, vanilla, tobacco, cinnamon. 4 of my absolute favorite ever notes in one, and you can smell them all, but none of them at the same time, if that makes any sense. It's like the blend is just exquisite, and like I said, you kind of get them all, but none of them above any of the others at any point throughout the whole fragrance. Another one that I find, like, it doesn't have a journey with, you know, an opening, a middle, and a dry down. It just smells its side effect all the way through. It is addictive, gorgeous, a boozy tobacco with just enough hint of the sweetness from the cinnamon that is in no way sickly, but just to take the edge off any harshness that you might get from the tobacco. It's very long wearing, but soft as far as sillage. I wish this was had a bit more sillage in it. Like I said, probably my second, just if we were just talking about this, the smell of the fragrance, this would be my number 2 fragrance. But because the performance is a lot quieter than some of these others, I don't love it as much because I want to be able to smell it. I want everyone to be able to smell it. I want me to be able to smell it all day and the next day. And it is definitely a more subtle, softer fragrance, but that is the beauty of it. It's just so beautiful, smooth, and quiet. The smell is just addictive heaven, which is why I want more people to be able to smell it. I wish the sillage was a bit more powerful, because I think as stunning as this is, if you were to smell this from the bottle or smell this on your wrist when you spray it, everybody will fall in love. But it's not one I get a lot of compliments on, just because it's not strong enough for other people really to smell it unless they like hug you, and then everybody will compliment it, because the scent itself is exquisite. It's just so beautiful. Like my absolute top boozy scent, but just not as strong as a lot of the others, but beautiful nonetheless. Next, let's talk about Xerjoff Decas, the second, I think, Xerjoff in this lineup. And oh my goodness, this fragrance is it. When it comes to summer months, when it comes to warmer weather, this is my absolute favorite. I kind of get like, I forget about Decas in the winter. I wore this morning for the first time in months and was like, why have I neglected this in winter? Because in my mind, this is like my summer fragrance. This is my summer signature fragrance because it smells like me. It has everything I love about a fragrance. It's got that tobacco. It's a warm, spicy scent, but you can wear it in summer, which for the vast majority of the scents that tick my boxes, that have the notes that I love in there, they're not really wearable in hot weather. They get too much, they're too cloying, they're too overbearing, they're too overpowering once they heat up in summer. Whereas this Decas, none of these issues. It somehow manages to be all of the things that I love, all of the notes that I love, but is just perfect for any weather. It doesn't matter if it's hot, it doesn't matter if it's cold. This is like the most versatile love of my life. I think what it is about this fragrance is that it has tobacco, but it's at the top of the pyramid, so it's in the opening, so maybe that's what keeps it just more wearable in warmer weather, because then the resins, the vanilla and the musk come through in the middle and in the dry down that take the edge and make it more wearable in the daytime and in the hot weather. But oh my goodness, the performance on this, it's all day. It's got, again, that decent, moderate or further sillage that you are going to get people to smell this without them having to be right up close or sniffing your neck. People are going to get wafts of this, and it's just, again, it's got that Xerjoff quality and that blend where you just get that hint of the notes throughout the day you can maybe pick out something, but the blend together is just divine. It's such a different, unique fragrance, but it hangs onto those notes that I love in a way that is more wearable for warmer weather and daytime. But it's just so intriguing and different, and I am just obsessed with it. Amazing, and I need to wear it more now that I've remembered that this is wearable in winter too. Hello. Next up, let's talk about Spiriteuse Double Vanille from Guerlain. Now, this bottle, divine, exquisite. You get to personalize the bottle, so I chose the gold hammered embossed top for the bottle, and then you can choose the color for this gorgeous ribbon, and you can also have your name engraved on the back in, again, your choice of color. So I loved all of that detail, and that this bottle is really like mine and personal to me. The scent of this, again, a little like side effect. If we were just talking about how the fragrance smells, this would be top 3, 100%, could even be like number 1, pushing for number 1 winter fragrance, because this for me is definitely a winter fragrance. This is the only what I would class as a vanilla perfume that I have and love in my collection. Again, I'm not typically a vanilla lover. I like a vanilla note thrown in here now and then, but this is the only sort of real vanilla heavy fragrance, vanilla dominant fragrance that I love in my collection, and that makes it much more, for me, it is an evening, it is a colder weather, not a warm weather fragrance, but beautiful nonetheless. Again, it doesn't have the longevity of a lot of these fragrances that I love. My skin, I've said it before, my skin repels fragrance or absorbs it, I'm not sure which, but I need really strong performing perfumes, otherwise it's gone on me in a few hours. And this one definitely for me doesn't have the longevity that I need and love, which is why it's not like my ultimate signature. The smell of the perfume is divine. It's such a beautiful vanilla, so rich, so spicy, and again, the blend is very, very good, that you will get some sort of hints of something, but you can't quite pick it out. Definitely not being an expert, I definitely can't pick out individual notes in here. Yes, I can smell almost like a burnt vanilla, like a burnt boozy, spicy vanilla, but that's about it. As far as the rest of these notes, I could not pick them out, to be honest. I can't pick out any rose in here or jasmine at all. Bergamot, can't pick that out. Yes, I can tell there's pepper and incense, but yeah, I can get hints of certain notes out of here, but a gorgeous blend, and it is just a stunning, beautiful scent. But I wish it was longer wearing, because then it would be like the tops of the tops. It's still my favorite vanilla. It's still a gorgeous like date night perfume, because this is what I want to smell like on a date. Gorgeous, sexy, powerful, but with a hint of romance and a hint of softness. Delightful. Edible. One of the few edible fragrances that I love, I can get bored with. I can't speak today. Next, let's talk about another newer fragrance to my collection. This is Mancera's Instant Crush. This has been on my list for forever. I've already spoken about Red Tobacco, and this Instant Crush has the exact same bomb performance, sillage amazing, longevity incredible. Lots of people compare Instant Crush and Baccarat Rouge 540. They both have a very similar saffron note to them. I find Instant Crush has a bit more body to it. It's a bit more of a full-bodied version of Baccarat Rouge. Baccarat Rouge for me is a bit lighter and airier. This one is a bit more full-bodied, stronger, more rich version to me. Just looking at the note profile here, I mean, there's a lot of notes in here, and again, it's just so beautifully blended. I couldn't pick out the majority of these notes. Obviously, I can pick out the saffron, because I'm always just looking for the saffron, and this is just gorgeous saffron note in here. Less of that hospital corridor smell that some people don't like about Baccarat Rouge, that sort of synthetic note, I don't think is as prominent in here. I think it's smoother in the Instant Crush. You can't, it's probably not as strong of a saffron note. You can't smell it as much. It's a bit more rounded and in the middle of the fragrance. But again, it's got that resiny quality, that muskiness in the dry down, and it's gorgeous. It's sweet, but not in a gourmand way and not in an edible way. It's more in a light. The sweetness comes from like floral quality as opposed to a sweet edible note, something like caramel or honey that can be very cloying and very sickly sweet. There's no sickliness in here. It's just a light, fresh sweetness. Beautiful fragrance, amazing performance, and has kind of become my like go-to easygoing fragrance. Some of these fragrances, they are very complex, they're divisive, not everyone's going to love them. If I'm not really sure what to wear, I'm just running on the school run, I don't want anything that's going to hit someone with the top notes and knock them out, but I want to just smell, you know, very inoffensive, very crowd pleasing, not too overpowering or anyone's going to be choking and can't breathe around me. I whack this on every time because I think it's so inoffensive. It's such a crowd pleaser. It's light and fresh, but you can smell it. So this is, yeah, if you want to go for something that's easygoing, but everyone can smell it, this is gorgeous. And last but by no means least, because this is my signature fragrance, my all-time favorite, #1 perfume ever, and this is Initio's Oud For Greatness. Now let me tell you, I blind bought this based on two things. One, the saffron note, you guessed it, the saffron note in here, and two, based on the reviews on Fragrantica. That's my go-to fragrance website when it comes to deciding on a new fragrance, learning about fragrance notes, checking out people's reviews and how perfumes perform. I go to Fragrantica every time. The people on there are just, they are so knowledgeable and helpful. So I love it. So based on the reviews that told me this is a performance bomb, it's incredibly long wearing. The sillage is incredible. And it's an Initio fragrance, which told me it's going to have a phenomenal blend. It's going to be the highest quality perfume. But unlike the other two Initios I've spoken about, this is much more powerful, stronger, long wearing, and has that incredible sillage that I crave and want with a saffron note. So that's why I felt like this was a safe blind buy for me, because it's a very expensive perfume. You don't want to buy it and then not like it. This just had me. From the first smell of this, I was excited. Like when I get a new perfume, I smell the bottle first, I spray it on my wrist and then on my neck. The second I smelled this bottle, I knew this was going to be it. I was so excited to wear it and really just praying it was going to perform really well on me, because lots of perfumes don't. Even those that perform beautifully on other people, lots of them don't perform very well on me. Oh, it's perfection. This is just it for me. A warm, spicy, but so smooth and so beautifully blended that it can be worn summer, winter, daytime, evening, in the office, on a date, on the school run, anywhere you like, holiday. It just ticks every box for me. There's no occasion I wouldn't wear this for. It's stunning. It's got the saffron that I love just enough, without being so much that people who don't like that note are going to not like it. It's so unusual. It smells like nothing else, yet smells like something that you just cannot stop wanting to smell. It's the most stunning oud. I would never have put myself down as someone who'd like an oud fragrance. Oud scares me when I see it in fragrances. I think, oh, I'm not going to like it. It's going to be too strong. It's going to be too woodsy for me. This is just it for me. It's divine. There's no other note really looking at the pyramid that I could pick out that I recognize out of here. The saffron I can recognize. I can smell the oud. I can smell the saffron. Maybe I can kid myself that I can just about pick up on the nutmeg. But oh my goodness, the lavender on the notes almost put me off, because lavender is one of my least favorite notes. And I always thought, I'm not going to like a fragrance that has lavender in it. I can't pick out lavender whatsoever. The blend is just incredible. Again, like all of the other two Initios that I have spoken about, it smells like it has a slight journey that it travels on, But from start to finish, it is just this gorgeous, smooth, blended combination of the notes that you can just maybe about pick some things out in some places, but otherwise it just smells the same pretty much from start. The first spray, there's no, oh, it's a bit strong to begin with. It's just there and it's stunning, and you can smell it through a shower, through the gym, the next day, on your clothes for days afterwards. You don't even need to spray it the next day. Everyone who smells this on me loves it. It's just so beautiful. I don't know how you could not love it. My number one by a million miles, and the love of my life and the signature, and I just don't ever want another fragrance, to be honest. So there you have it. Those are my 10 favorite fragrances of all time. I've definitely reached a place with my collection that I don't even want any more fragrances. Something really, really unique, different would have to come along at this point, because I don't want 100 fragrances. You know, my collection already, I get a bit overwhelmed, and I just, these 10 and maybe two or three more would be it for me. This, you know, Initio Oud For Greatness came along, and I just don't want to use another fragrance ever again. I just want to wear that one every day, and I have to push myself to choose other fragrances because I just love that one so much. I don't want any others. This is it for me. This is everything I need. And yeah, until something exciting, very exciting and unique, and that just grabs me, is going to have to come along for me to even be interested in smelling it, because it's got some competition, serious competition, big shoes to fill. So please tell me, share with me your absolute favorite fragrances in the comment section down below. Have you smelled any of the fragrances we've talked about today? What's your experience of them? Fragrance is so subjective. Everybody has different preferences, and these fragrances will smell differently on everybody and perform differently depending on you and your skin chemistry. So it's so interesting to find out what other people love and are drawn to when it comes to fragrance. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.